Well, that's what champions are made of, and they come back from the dead most of the time to win their matches. That's why they're great champions. 231 to 217, and putting Mark Ramsey into third place in this year's South Pacific Classic. Well, that set up a grand final match now against Rob Zikman, the top seed, and to win the tournament, Ian Bradford has to beat him twice. Well, in that first match, he beat Rob Zikman, who was a bit out of form, a little bit nervous perhaps, 191 to 169, and that set up this repechage final. The winner of this tournament will represent Australia in the Bowling World Cup. Good luck to both bowlers.
Welcome back as Rob Zikman gets ready to put the ball down to start the repechage.
That's a better start. He'd be happy with that.
Where he wants it, and down they go. Beautiful. Rob Zikman commences this final game with a strike.
Well, here's Ian Bradford's favourite lane 22 here at Bankstown.
Ian Bradford trying to defend the title that he won last year.
That's a pretty good start. Well, we'll just quickly run through some of the other place getters in the tournament this year. Mark Ramsey finished third. He lost the semi-final, of course, to Ian Bradford. He just bowled that wonderful strike in the opening frame of this repechage match. In fourth place was Tom Curry of Queensland. Fifth, young Jim Hind of South Australia. Sixth was Mark Malloy of Victoria. Seventh was Frankie Cheong of Hong Kong. Eighth, Gary Jeffrey, last year's runner-up from South Australia. Ninth was the Sydney bowling policeman, Andrew Frawley, from New South Wales, of course, and 10th was Mike Kennedy from Geelong. So quite a smattering of interstate and overseas bowlers there in the top 10 placings in this year's men's South Pacific finals. Good start for Ian Bradford. He's on fire now, and Rob Zikman will have to go with him and hope that something unusual happens. He's the man with the experience in this game. And almost hit the gutter, Bob.
Yeah, another big shot from there. Well, needs to match that. He doesn't want to get behind.
That's a better start.
We'd like to see. Both bowlers starting with 2 strikes in a row.
Yes, now they're on fire, and Rob Zikman a lot more pace, I think, on the approach, Bob, as he went up to the foul line that time. He's been a little lethargic in that first game, a little bit tentative, a little bit defensive. Now he's decided to throw all caution to the wind, and, well, let's see if it's good enough for him. He's got 2 strikes working, so is Ian Bradford. He needs another one here to make Bradford go again. Good result. The ball hitting the pocket just a little bit on the light side, but he certainly had the drive behind it, and that's a much more confident opening. You see that big hole in the left-hand side of the ball as Rob's ball rolls down towards the pins. He needed to have some excess weight removed when all the bowling balls were checked in here the other day. That one had too much side and top weight, and he had to have that very large hole drilled in the side, and as you can see in the slow motion replays, it tends to make the ball wobble a little bit on the way down, and that's probably causing it to lose a little bit of its hitting power.
Bradford now going for 3 strikes in a row to take the lead in this final game.
Yes, 3 strikes for Ian Bradford. He looks ominous.
I guess he's got that feeling about him that he had in the win here last year. He commenced that game with 6 strikes in a row. And there's not much you can do when your opponent does that to you.
Well, Ian Bradford, will history repeat itself? He finished with 246 in that game when he beat Gary Jeffrey's 173. He'd love to go probably another 54 pins better, I think, would be the thought going through this man's mind at the moment.
He'll be thinking, just make a good shot. That's what he needs to do for 4 strikes in a row.
Looks a chance. Oh dear, there it is again. This lane really has been his nemesis.
It's an unusual result. And it only comes from such a big hooking ball. On the one hand, while that ball gets him a lot of strikes, it can get him into a bit of trouble.
And that's what is happening on the American professional tours now with the bowlers. They get strings of strikes and then they get these wide open splits, and they're averaging about 230 with a whole heap of strikes and a couple of open frames usually. That's what we saw Ian do in the match against Mark Ramsey. He had a couple of big splits but managed to create a 231 with all his strikes. Good effort to get 2 pins out of this. That ball only just touched the back one, and that's given him a good count. 7 and 2 after a string of strikes. 85 in the 4th. Rob Zikman needs anything 7 or more to take the lead. Very good shot by Rob Zikman, and he'd be very, very pleased with his performance in the last 4 frames, that's for sure.
Yes, that was a lovely ball. Nothing wrong with that at all. Just put that one down to bad luck. They didn't all fall over. Across goes the 5 pin in front of the 7 pin. It should have hit it. It was too good.
And nonetheless, Zikman, the leader, 68.
Need to spare to hold the lead here. And
this is leader by 3 pins or so over Ian Bradford. This match play style of bowling is fairly exciting for the spectators, but I don't know what it's doing for the hearts of the players. We just have to sit down there and listen to the reactions of the crowd, or if they choose to, they can watch what the other bowler's doing. Not many of them do these days. And it's a pretty scary and lonely place sitting in the bench there, as Ian Bradford is now. He watches Rob Zikman here perhaps keep the lead.
Played safe.
Good strike by Rob Zikman. 88 plays 85. 3 sticks the difference, and Rob's got a strike working. Now he can sit down in the bench and know that he's had 2 good shots. He couldn't have bowled either of them any better. And one of them, that one there, has created a strike for him.
Yes, Rob's bowled 2 strikes, 2 non-spares, and another strike. Ian Bradford's had 3 strikes in a row in that big split. Percentages have been with Zikman thus far.
Hold up here for Ian Bradford as the pin gets moved out of the gutter. He takes stock of the situation.
This concentration is all important at this level.
Well, he's bringing that ball back from a mile out of the strike zone. It's just unbelievable, and I would suggest that all the people out there watching would have to bowl for a long time to be able to bring a ball back that far. It's almost like it's a lawn bowl with a bias in it. It's coming back so far.
You mentioned you'd bowled earlier in this sport's history, Ken. Not too many bowlers hooked the ball like that in those days.
No, they certainly did not. I was happy to keep them out of the gutter at that time.
The technology of the sport has really gone in leaps and bounds over the last decade.
Yes, that's the thing that I find amazing, having been away from it for some time. Certainly the difference in approach by the players and technique and equipment has all changed dramatically.
He's again on this lane, and this lane's really driving him nuts. He's just not driving the ball out the way he'd like. Lane 21, and quite an arch enemy of both right and left-handers. Lane 21 has.
Yes, he's left a little 3-10 baby split. The ball has to fit between the 2. Hitting them both, of course.
That's interesting now. 113 in the 6th frame for Ian Bradford. And Rob Zikman can take a very, very big lead with him if he can get 2 strikes on these next 2 shots. Arguably, Bob, the 2 most important shots he's ever had in his bowling life.
Yes, Rob's the Australian team captain. He's played for his country overseas, but none of the situations as big as this one at the moment.
Well, he's had 5 good shots in this game. Just needs 2 more.
Oh, he got
the 4th here.
And he knows it. Beauty. That was a good break. The ball came in high. He wasn't sure what it was going to do.
Well, it held its place, and he can take his lucky stars for that. One more good shot, and Ian Bradford's in a whole heap of trouble.
I think he'll have some confidence. I think we'll see a good shot here. Could have been a winning shot, and he knows it. Yes. Well, that's putting up in the 220s, and Bradford, with 4 frames to go, will need to strike every ball to match that. It's a big feat.
He's on his good line. He certainly needs to get one here. He knows it. He's not going to finish on his good lane. He has to finish on the rough one. He's coming up there now in the 8th frame on lane 21, and he just can't seem to do the same thing as he is on shots like that on this odd-numbered lane. It's certainly been an odd one for him.
Yes, well, if ever he needs to work that lane out, he needs to do it right now. He won't get another chance after this shot.
Amazing turnaround in the fortunes of these 2 bowlers.
It's been a beast for him. Better get this spare.
Yes, he's not out of it, but it's making life very difficult for himself. He'll have nightmares about lane 21 at Bankstown Bowl tonight.
Yes, he's got room for 213, but he's got to get this spare and then strike out and hope that Rob makes a couple of errors. So 133 in the 7th frame for Ian Bradford after opening up brilliantly with 3 strikes in a row. He left a couple of splits on that lane, and then this spare to go for. Hasn't been kind to him at all. And Rob Zikman now, he can shut the gate with another good shot. He's had 7 good shots out of 7 so far. Yes!
Is he happy?
He's happy. It's like he just won Lotto. In fact, he'd rather win the South Pacific Classic than Lotto, I'm sure.
And what a ball, look at it.
Finally.
He has to be able to do it like this in front of such a big crowd here at Bankstown.
And a lot of people that would know him too, Ken, having played cricket in the area, they would have heard that he's in this match and come down to watch. Today, more than 2,000 people here at Bankstown, the biggest crowd we've ever had. And rightfully so, the silver anniversary tournament with $70,000 in prizes, the richest tournament, and Rob Zikman's the winner of it.
And they've seen some great bowling.
He would love to have gone out. He's a bit of a showman, and not to be. It's still a game, what, Bob, in the 230s now?
Yes, 237 or 247 if he can make this spare and get some strikes. And that's out of Bradford's reach at this point. Rob will be very, very pleased. He has a reputation as somewhat of a bridesmaid in the sport. He has a lot of second placings.
Well, that is unbelievable. Well, it's not all over yet. Isn't that unbelievable? I hope we haven't spoken too soon.
Took that a little easy.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned with you fellows over the last few weeks, it's never speak too soon.
Yes. Well, Ian Bradford now. Oh, my. If he could pull out 4 strikes in a row here and shoot 213, that means Rob Zikman needs to not do anything silly in the 10th frame. And it's up to Bradford. Needs a strike here. Got it.
Yes.
Still alive. Look at the scorecard now and you wouldn't think so. He's 153 in the 8th, a strike in the 9th. This one here, Rob Zikman is 205 in the 9th, but Bradford has room for 3 more strikes. That'll give him another 60 sticks in a 213 game. And Rob Zikman would then need 9 pins or more in the 10th frame to win the South Pacific Classic. And there'd be a lot of weird thoughts going through Rob's mind now as to why he missed that 5-pin when he had the bags packed for Dublin.
And Bradford now in lane 21. He's struck every time on 22. Only once on this lane has he managed to strike.
And he's going to need... No, he's out of it. So Ian Bradford loses the South Pacific Classic, finally can't win now. He really had to go all the way there to force Zikman to do something in the 10th. What a game performance. The second time he's finished runner-up in the South Pacific Classic. He was runner-up in 1984 to the first of 2 overseas bowlers to win the tournament by Eng Nepomuceno of the Philippines. And now runner-up this year. Rob Zikman doesn't want to watch.
Will this last shot be a strike?
Not even a good shot like that gave Bradford absolution, so he will finish 2nd this year and receive a prize of $3,000 for runner-up in the South Pacific Classic.
205 already. 225, a spare and a strike. He already has the tournament won.
And by the look of his thumb there, I guess that he wouldn't have wanted it to go to another game. And look at him, he just can't believe it. He's finally broken through for a really major win to add to his West Australian Open title from last December. 214 to 192. Rob Zikman wins the 1989 Silver Anniversary South Pacific Classic.
Well, for Rob Zikman, a dream realised at last with a 22-pin win over Ian Bradford, who was the champion. 192 to Bradford, 214 to Zikman after what was a disastrous first match. But Rob Zikman now, the South Pacific Classic winner of 1989.
Well, Ian Bradford, 192, 214 to the winner. Not quite enough today.
No, not quite enough, Steve. I guess I was a little bit lost on lane 21 again, and I couldn't seem to find it at any stage, really.
Yes, and even when you did find it in that last frame there, you left a cold 8-pin. That was really a question mark, that lane, for you.
Yes, I tried something different on the last ball, and it seemed to work, sort of, but I still left a pin, so I guess it might not have worked anyway.
Well, Rob, your first really big win, and fairly happy man, but you had to come back from that first game defeat.
The first game was just a terrible game, Steve. I just a bit tentative, tried to place the ball through my area, and then started the second game. I just said faint heart, never won a fair maiden, and had to go and attack, and it worked.
Yes, you certainly did. Rob Zikman attacked from the outset there, and what about when you missed that 5-pin in the 9th? That must have given you a few more grey hairs.
No, I worked it out that I only had to make 8 in the next frame anyway, or 8-1, so really didn't worry me, but I thought I'd move in and make sure of it, but guess what? I missed.
Yes, well, not to worry. 2:14 to 192 and beating the Australian champion be a very good time for you tonight.
It's always great. This is the first time I've actually met Ian in a final of a tournament, I think, and the two men I'm standing either side of me are probably the best two bowlers I've ever seen in my life, and it's a pleasure to beat Ian. And I'm just looking forward to going over to Dublin and see if I can't improve on Ian's effort last year.
A happy winner, Rob Zikman, 2:14 to 192, but boy, wasn't it close. A couple of open frames there, and if Ian Bradford could have found lane 21, well, we could have had a different winner. But it's all academic now. Rob Zikman and Carol Giannotti, the winners of the Silver Anniversary South Pacific Classic. My thanks go to Ken Hose of Sky Channel and Bob Cook of Pin Action magazine for their valued comments during the program. And we look forward to seeing you in one of the AMF centres pretty soon.